Have you ever met a woman who seems to effortlessly draw people in? Not just romantically, but in friendships, careers, and every room she enters? What is it about her that makes her so magnetic? The answer isn't just charm or beauty, it's something deeper, rooted in psychology. Carl Jung, the legendary psychoanalyst, uncovered hidden truths about the feminine psyche that explain this irresistible allure. These women aren't following trends or playing games. They embody timeless traits that create genuine fascination. Jung's groundbreaking work revealed that the most captivating women don't chase attention. They attract it naturally by aligning with powerful unconscious forces. Concepts like the anima, the inner feminine, archetypes, and individuation, the journey to wholeness, all play a role. He believed that when a woman embraces certain psychological habits, she becomes more than just desired. She becomes unforgettable. So, what are these habits? Here are 5, backed by Jung's wisdom, that explain why some women are always wanted, not because they try to be, but because they simply are. Habit 1. They embrace their shadow. Carl Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." At the heart of this idea is the shadow self, the hidden, often suppressed parts of our psyche that we deny or ignore. These may be insecurities, past traumas, or even traits society deems unacceptable. But here's the paradox. The women who are most magnetic don't hide these shadows. They acknowledge and integrate them. This isn't about wallowing in flaws. It's about radical self-awareness. When a woman confronts her darkness, she stops fragmenting herself to please others. Instead, she becomes whole, and that wholeness is irresistibly compelling. Most people wear masks, carefully curating only their acceptable traits. But a woman who embraces her shadow doesn't fear her contradictions. She knows she can be both strong and soft, disciplined and spontaneous, kind and fiercely boundary-driven. This authenticity creates a rare depth, because people sense she isn't performing. She's real. Think of the woman who openly admits her past mistakes without shame, or the leader who shares her struggles alongside her successes. There's no pretense, just unfiltered humanity, and that's magnetic. Why does this work? Jung believed that what we repress doesn't disappear. It leaks out in unconscious ways, creating tension or insecurity. But when a woman owns her shadow, she disarms others. She gives permission for them to be imperfect too. This is why people feel so drawn to her. She's not just accepted her darkness, she's made peace with it. And in a world of carefully filtered personas, that kind of raw honesty is unforgettable. Example: imagine 2 women at a social gathering. The first deflects any hint of vulnerability, laughing off deeper questions. The second, when asked about a career setback, says, "I failed hard, and it taught me more than any success could." Which one leaves a lasting impression? The second woman isn't seeking pity, she's secure in her complexity. That's the power of shadow work. It transforms perceived weaknesses into sources of strength and intrigue. This habit isn't about dwelling in darkness, but about balance. Jung's psychology teaches that light and dark must coexist. A woman who's done this inner work doesn't just attract others, she keeps them. Because in her presence, people feel seen, not judged. And that's the ultimate allure. Habit 2. They cultivate the anima archetype. At the core of Jungian psychology lies the concept of the anima, the unconscious feminine aspect present in every individual, regardless of gender. But for women, consciously embodying this archetype unlocks a profound magnetism that transcends superficial charm. The anima isn't about conforming to societal ideals of beauty or passive femininity. It's about embracing the primal, intuitive force that connects us to creativity, emotion, and the mysteries of life. Women who understand this don't just attract others, they enchant them. The anima represents qualities like depth, fluidity, and emotional resonance. Think of the way water adapts to any container yet wears down stone over time. This is the power of feminine energy when fully realized. A woman who cultivates her anima doesn't rely on loudness or forced confidence to be noticed. Instead, she draws people in through her presence. She listens with full attention, making others feel truly heard. She speaks not just with words, but with nuance, a glance, a thoughtful pause, an unexpected insight. This isn't manipulation, it's the art of unconscious communication, where her very energy becomes a silent language others instinctively respond to. One of the anima's most compelling traits is mystery, not as a calculated tactic, but as a natural byproduct of inner richness. In a culture that overshares, a woman comfortable with silence and subtlety stands out. She knows that true allure lies in what isn't immediately revealed. This could manifest as an enigmatic smile when others demand explanations, or the choice to share her artistic expressions, whether through writing, painting, or dance, instead of reducing herself to bullet-pointed facts. Example: consider two colleagues at a networking event. The first delivers a rehearsed elevator pitch with polished enthusiasm. The second, when asked about her work, responds with a curious tilt of her head. "I'm fascinated by how light changes in empty rooms. It's why I design spaces that feel alive even when no one's there." Her answer isn't a resume summary, it's a poetic invitation into her worldview. People lean in, not because she's selling herself, but because she's revealing layers they want to explore. Jung warned that a neglected anima grows chaotic, manifesting as moodiness or emotional manipulation. But when nurtured, it becomes a guiding force. Women who channel this archetype don't just react to life, they weave with it. Their intuition helps them navigate complexity without rigid plans. Their creativity solves problems in ways logic alone can't. And their emotional intelligence creates bonds that feel fated, because on some unconscious level, they speak directly to the anima, or animus, in others. This habit isn't about becoming more feminine by external standards. It's about reclaiming the anima's wild, untamed essence, the part of you that dreams in symbols, senses storms before they come, and transforms raw feeling into art. When a woman stops apologizing for these depths, she doesn't just become wanted, she becomes unforgettable. Because in a world starving for authenticity, she offers something rare, not another persona, but a living reminder of what souls remember. Habit 3. They are self-contained. At the heart of Jung's concept of individuation lies a radical idea. True wholeness comes not from being admired, but from becoming so complete within yourself that external validation loses its power. Women who embody this principle don't just resist the pull of others' opinions, they transcend the need for them entirely. This isn't aloofness or isolation, it's the quiet confidence of someone who has met herself deeply and found that enough. In a world that teaches women to seek worth through relationships, attention, or achievement, these women understand a more profound truth. You cannot attract what you desperately need, only what you already embody. The self-contained woman is defined by an inner economy of fulfillment. While others chase constant connection, she nurtures a rich inner world through books, art, solitary walks, or intellectual pursuits that have nothing to do with performance. Her hobbies aren't Instagram-ready self-care trends. They're private passions that feed her soul first. This creates a magnetic paradox. The less she seeks approval, the more it finds her. People sense her autonomy like a gravitational pull, because in her presence, they experience the rare freedom of not being needed. She doesn't cling, interrogate, or demand reassurance, and that very absence of hunger makes others want to stay. Boundaries are her silent language. Where many confuse openness with vulnerability, She knows that true vulnerability requires the armor of self-possession. She says no without apology, not as a power play, but as a natural expression of her values. This might look like leaving a party early because she honors her energy, or declining to engage in gossip without making a show of moral superiority. Her boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges built at the right distance, and that discernment makes every connection she does choose feel intentional and precious. Example: picture two women at a dinner party. The first laughs a bit too loudly at the host's jokes, leans in eagerly during conversations, and checks her phone for messages when attention wanes. The second sits with relaxed posture, asks thoughtful questions but doesn't fill silences, and when the evening peaks, she's the first to gracefully exit, not from dislike, but because she knows exactly when she's had enough. Months later, guess whom people remember? Not the one who mirrored their energy, but the one who had her own. Jung warned that until we confront our dependence complexes, we'll project our unmet needs onto others, demanding lovers complete us, friends soothe us, or careers define us. The self-contained woman has done this shadow work. She understands that loneliness isn't cured by company, but by befriending herself. This is why she can spend weekends alone without feeling like a loser, or leave a relationship that no longer serves her without apocalyptic dread. Her security isn't coldness, it's the warmth of self-intimacy, and that's what makes others crave her presence. They don't just want her, they want the way she inhabits herself. This habit isn't about becoming a hermit or rejecting love. It's about reaching a state where companionship is an expansion, not a completion. When a woman achieves this, she doesn't just attract people, she attracts people who are equally whole. And that's where the real magic begins, not in the desperate chase for connection, but in the quiet art of being someone worth connecting to. Habit 4. They use symbolism and mystery. Jung spent his life studying how symbols bypass rational thought to whisper directly to the unconscious. A rose isn't just a flower, it's an entire language of love, transience, and thorns encoded in our collective psyche. Women who understand this don't just communicate, they activate ancient recognition in others. Their power lies in speaking the mother tongue of the soul, where a single gesture, sartorial choice, or well-timed silence carries more weight than volumes of explanation. This is the alchemy of symbolic living, turning ordinary moments into mythic encounters. Consider how symbols work. They condense complex truths into primal imagery. A woman who wears red lipstick not as makeup but as a statement of sovereignty, or one who leaves pauses in conversation like breadcrumbs for the listener to follow, she isn't being cryptic. She's practicing psychological elegance, trusting that what's felt is more potent than what's explained. Jung observed that the unconscious expresses itself through dreams, art, and intuition long before logic catches up. When a woman aligns with this principle, she stops over-explaining her worth and instead embodies it in ways that resonate beneath thought. Example: two women attend the same gala. The first arrives in a trendy designer gown, enthusiastically greeting everyone. The second wears an heirloom brooch at her collar, a tiny serpent coiled around an emerald. She smiles but says little. By evening's end, guests are inventing stories about her. Is she a writer? A scientist? Why does that symbol feel so significant? The brooch, an archetype of wisdom and rebirth, does the work for her. She understands that mystery isn't about hiding, but about revealing in layers, letting others' imaginations collaborate in her narrative. This habit extends beyond aesthetics. It's present in how these women wield silence like a sculptor's chisel, removing excess to reveal essence. When asked a probing question, they might answer with a sphinx-like smile that says, "The answer exists, but you must meet me halfway to earn it." In relationships, they don't confess their pasts in chronological order. They share fragments that glint like mosaic tiles, allowing partners to piece together meaning over time. This creates emotional investment. The human mind prizes what it has to work to understand. Jung warned that literalism kills magic. The woman stuck in purely practical communication, bullet points, bluntness, constant accessibility, may be efficient, but she rarely becomes legendary in someone's memory. Contrast this with the woman who sends a postcard from her travels featuring a lone cypress tree, no caption needed. The recipient stares at it, sensing the unspoken, solitude, resilience, a private benchmark. Months later, they'll recall that card while forgetting countless texts. Because symbols colonize the unconscious, planting seeds that grow in secret. To master this is to recognize that you are a walking symbol. Your style choices, the books you leave visible on your coffee table, even your laughter, all transmit coded messages about who you are at soul level. The most magnetic women don't announce these things. They let them be discovered, knowing that what's stumbled upon feels like destiny. This isn't manipulation, it's the art of being fully seen, not through brute force exposure, but through the slow, sacred unveiling that turns admirers into devotees. Ultimately, this habit answers a deep human hunger, the craving for encounters that feel fated. When a woman communicates symbolically, she doesn't just pass information, she creates experiences that linger in bones. And in a world drowning in explicit content, that's the rarest currency of all. Habit 5. They inspire growth. At the pinnacle of Jung's exploration of the feminine psyche lies the concept of the sacred feminine, not as a passive nurturer, but as a catalytic force that compels transformation. Women who embody this principle don't simply comfort, they initiate. Like the mythological phoenix that must burn to be reborn, they create relationships and environments where growth isn't just encouraged, it becomes inevitable. This is the difference between being liked and being legendary. The former fades with time, while the latter alters the course of lives. These women possess a unique duality. They are both mirror and map. As mirrors, they reflect back to others their unrealized potential, often seeing greatness in people before they see it in themselves. As maps, they don't just offer directions, but compel action through their own example. Consider the difference between a friend who consoles you after failure and one who says, "I know you're hurting, so tell me, what will you create from this?" The first offers solace, the second offers evolution, and in doing so, honors your strength more than your suffering. Example: imagine a workplace mentor. The conventional version praises your report and suggests minor edits. The transformative version reads your work silently, then locks eyes and asks, "Where did you hold back? I can feel the paragraph where you stopped trusting your own voice." She doesn't flatter or criticize. She illuminates the gap between your current self and your dormant power. This approach doesn't merely improve performance, it forges identity. Those she touches don't just advance professionally, they awaken to versions of themselves that were previously theoretical. Jungian psychology reveals that the most profound growth occurs at thresholds of discomfort. Women who inspire understand this intimately. They don't enable stagnation with unconditional approval. They orchestrate benevolent crises, the kind that shatter illusions without breaking spirit. This might manifest as refusing to participate in someone's self-pity, or sharing hard truths wrapped in such unwavering belief that the recipient feels challenged rather than condemned. Their secret lies in holding two seemingly contradictory energies simultaneously, fierce truth and radical compassion. This habit transcends personality types. The quiet librarian who recommends exactly the book that dismantles your worldview is practicing it as much as the charismatic leader spearheading a movement. The common thread is impact over intention. They measure their influence not by how much they're loved in the moment, but by how many people become more themselves through knowing them. In Jung's framework, these women activate the hieros gamos, the sacred marriage within others between who they are and who they might become. Ultimately, to be this woman is to become a living invitation to transcendence. People leave her presence not just admiring her, but astonished by the version of themselves she revealed. And in a world desperate for authentic transformation, that's the rarest gift of all. Not just to be desired, but to be the spark that makes others worthy of desire. What makes a woman truly irresistible, according to Jung's wisdom, isn't a checklist of behaviors, it's the courageous work of becoming whole. These 5 habits, embracing your shadow, awakening your anima, cultivating self-containment, speaking in symbols, and inspiring transformation, aren't tricks to manipulate perception. They're markers of a psyche doing its sacred work, integrating all that she is: light and dark, strength and softness, solitude and connection. This is the paradox Jung uncovered. The women who are most desired aren't focused on being wanted at all. They're too busy being. The magic lies in what happens when you stop chasing attention and start commanding it unconsciously. When you honor your darkness, you radiate authenticity. When you nurture your feminine essence, you draw people into your orbit. When you find completeness within, others sense they're meeting someone rare, a woman who chooses rather than needs. When you communicate symbolically, you bypass resistance and speak directly to souls. And when you challenge others to grow, you don't just enter their lives, you alter their trajectory. Now we turn to you. Which of these habits resonates most? Is it the call to finally make peace with your shadow? The longing to express your anima's creative depths? Or perhaps the challenge to stop seeking validation and become your own home? Tell us in the comments. Your insight might spark someone else's breakthrough. If this exploration of Jungian wisdom lit something in you, don't let it end here. Subscribe for more deep dives into psychology-based transformation. We're just scratching the surface of how timeless truths can revolutionize modern life. After all, the most compelling journeys aren't about changing who you are, but remembering what you've always been.